I played The Witcher 3 a few years back, and even now it's easily one of the best open-world games I've ever touched. The world is just massive and gorgeous. I mean, you can literally get lost for hours just exploring and discovering hidden little spots. And the side quests are actually really well done. They're not just boring fetch quests, which is a breath of fresh air. Combat takes a bit to get used to. It can be a little clunky at first, but once you figure it out, it's actually pretty satisfying. But the real star of the show is the story. It's so well written, and the characters are so well developed, you actually feel like you know them. And with the recent next-gen patch, it looks even better now. The visuals are sharper, and the performance is smoother, making the whole experience even more immersive. Overall, this game is a masterpiece. It's definitely a must-play, and I can totally see myself going back to it again someday.
Think.
I think I got this.
So I finally got around to playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I was blown away by how much fun it is. The world is absolutely gorgeous, exploring it is a real treat. Combat is super engaging.
Let's finish this.
Switching between characters pulling off these awesome combos makes every fight exciting. The story is captivating too. Seeing these familiar characters again with some new twists is just fantastic. They really captured the magic of the original while adding their own spin, which is really cool. Even the side quests are enjoyable. They actually add to the world and the story instead of just being boring filler. Now, it's not perfect, of course. I did have a couple of minor issues. The camera can be a little wonky sometimes, especially in close quarters, and I did run into a few little glitches here and there. Plus, some of the dialogue can be a bit cheesy at times. But honestly, even with those small problems, I thoroughly enjoyed Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's a fantastic game, and I would definitely recommend it to any fan of RPGs or anyone just looking for a really fun adventure.
Bring it!
Baldur's Gate 3 is an absolutely incredible RPG. The level of freedom you have in this game is insane. You can make so many choices that actually impact the story and the world around you. The combat is really deep and strategic, plus there are so many different classes and abilities to experiment with. And the characters are fantastic. I got really invested in their stories and their relationships. Exploring the Forgotten Realms is a real treat too. There's so much to discover. It's a huge game though, so it can be a little overwhelming at times, and I did run into a few minor bugs. Also, the graphics aren't always the most cutting edge. But even with those small issues, this is still easily one of the top 5 games from the last 5 years. If you're a fan of RPGs or just love games with deep stories and lots of choices, you absolutely have to play it. I played Ghost of Tsushima a while back now, and it still stands out as one of the most beautiful open-world games I've ever experienced. Exploring the island of Tsushima is breathtaking. The scenery is absolutely gorgeous, and the way the wind blows through the grass and trees is just mesmerizing. The combat is really satisfying too. Learning different stances and mastering the katana feels great. The story is compelling and the characters are well developed. I really felt invested in Jin's journey. It's not perfect though. Some of the side quests can be a bit repetitive, and the stealth mechanics aren't always the best. Also, while the world is beautiful, some areas can feel a little empty, but even with those small issues, this game is amazing. If you're looking for a beautiful open-world game with great combat and a compelling story, you should definitely give it a try.
This moment forth. Thou art arisen. Charge and all.
Dragon's Dogma 2 is an action RPG where you create your own character and explore a huge open world full of monsters, quests, and secrets. It's got a really cool pawn system where you can create companions to fight alongside you and even share them with other players online. The combat is really fun and dynamic. There are lots of different classes and abilities to choose from, and it feels great to take down a giant monster. I loved exploring the world, discovering new locations, and meeting all sorts of interesting characters. The story is pretty engaging too. It's a classic fantasy tale with some interesting twists. If I had to mention a little something negative, maybe the graphics aren't the absolute best, but they're still pretty good. But overall, it's a fantastic RPG, and if you're a fan of open-world games with great combat and a lot of freedom, then I definitely recommend it.
So good to see you again. You lost consciousness after awakening to your power.
Persona 3 Reload is a remake of the classic JRPG that mixes dungeon crawling with social simulation, letting you balance fighting shadows at night and building relationships during the day. The updated graphics look fantastic and the combat feels smoother with some nice quality of life improvements. I loved revisiting the story, which is still one of the best in the series, full of emotional moments and deep character development. But I was a bit disappointed that some content from the original versions was left out, like certain side stories. Still, if you're into JRPGs with a great story and strategic combat, it's definitely worth playing. Red Dead Redemption 2 remains one of the most immersive and engaging open-world experiences I've ever had. The world is just incredible, so detailed and alive, and exploring it feels like a real adventure. The story is fantastic too, with well-developed characters and a really compelling narrative. I got completely lost in Arthur Morgan's journey, and I cared about what happened to him and the rest of the gang. It's a very long game though, so it can take a while to finish, and some of the missions can feel a bit repetitive. Also, the online mode wasn't as engaging as I hoped, but even with those small issues, this game is a masterpiece. If you're looking for a truly immersive and unforgettable open-world game, you absolutely have to play it. If you're enjoying the video and want to support a growing channel, then please do subscribe and hit the bell icon. Elden Ring is a massive and challenging game that I've sunk countless hours into exploring. The open world is absolutely incredible. There's so much to discover, and every corner feels like it holds a secret. The combat is tough, but rewarding. Finally beating a boss after trying again and again is such a great feeling. Building your character and finding new weapons and armor is really fun too, and there are tons of options to choose from. It's definitely not easy though. This game is hard, like really hard, and it can be frustrating at times. Also, the story is a bit cryptic and you have to piece it together yourself, which some people might not like. But even with the difficulty and the somewhat vague story, I absolutely love this game. If you're looking for a challenging and rewarding open-world experience, you should definitely give it a try. Silent Hill 2 Remake is a survival horror game that reimagines the classic with stunning graphics and a haunting atmosphere. It stays true to the original story, which is one of the best in horror gaming. I loved how they kept the creepy vibe while updating the visuals to look more realistic. The sound design is fantastic, making every moment feel tense and unsettling. The puzzles are well designed and add to the mystery. My only complaint is that the combat still feels stiff and a bit outdated. But overall, it's a great remake that fans of the series will really appreciate. It's definitely worth playing if you want a chilling experience. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 is a dark and intense action game where you play as Senua, a warrior who's battling her own mental health struggles while fighting to save her people. It's a really immersive experience, and the visuals are absolutely stunning. They're so realistic and detailed. The combat is brutal and visceral. It feels very weighty and impactful. I love the way they incorporated Senua's mental state into the gameplay. The voices in her head and the visual hallucinations really add to the atmosphere.
What have you done? Stop.
It's a very emotional game and it deals with some heavy themes. If I had to mention anything negative, it's that the game can be quite short and some might find the combat a little repetitive. But overall, it's a powerful and unforgettable experience. It's a game that stays with you long after you've finished it.